Welcome back to MBI Anganwadi. So far, we have been working with tables and different aspects connected with tables like constraints, insertion and modification of data, and also data retrieval. But imagine we have a table with many columns, and every time we may need only a set of particular columns or particular filtered set of records, but we end up writing the large select query again and again whenever we want to retrieve that data. Because of this, a need to save this query and use it whenever required may arise, and this is where views come in. A view is another database object. It is like a virtual table which is based on a select query. We give the select query a name and save it as a separate database object. Later, instead of writing the same query again and again, we can simply query this view similar to how we query a regular table. Let's go through this small example from AdventureWorks. Here we want to retrieve all high value records, that is where the total due is more than 1000, and we will make use of this sales order header table. So here is my query in the AdventureWorks database, and since we want only those with total due more than 1000, I'll put a filter condition over here and say total due greater than 1000 and run our query. So this gives all the relevant records. Now assume that you may have to run this query on a daily basis to check what are the high value records. Instead of writing this query repeatedly, we can create a view which indirectly saves this query, and we can query the view whenever required. So to create a view, we will have to use create view and assign a name to this view. Let's use a prefix called VW and say high value orders as followed by the query. When we run this now, this query is saved with this name. So we can have a look at it under the AdventureWorks database. Under views, we can see this high value orders view within this DBO schema. And now I can query this view like how I query a regular table. With the same select statement, I can say select star from view name. And we got all the high value orders, that is the same output of this query. One very important point to remember here is that when we create a view, it does not exclusively create a separate copy of the underlying data from the query. Instead, it just stores the definition of the query, and when we run the select query on the view, SQL Server understands that it has to retrieve the underlying data. So in simple, a view by itself does not occupy any storage. And since it is just a pointer to the underlying table, any insert, updates or deletes made in the source table will automatically reflect when the view is queried. Now in this example, for any of these records, if the total due value or any other values in the columns change here, will be reflected in this view. Another very important scenario where views become very useful are when we have to write very complex queries involving multiple tables and complex logic. In real world scenarios, instead of repeatedly writing large queries, we can make use of views irrespective of the type of query. It can contain joins, aggregate functions, multiple unions, or involve any kind of subqueries as well. Let's have a look at an example where we can use a join inside a view. In this query, we just retrieved some columns from this sales order header table. Now let's say we want to get some columns like order quantity or unit price which are part of another table, that is sales order detail. So this would be our second scenario. where we first write our query. So first let's provide an alias name for these columns and say H and we are joining this table with sales order detail. With an alias name D, and the joining condition would be on H dot sales order ID equal to D dot sales order ID. And from the sales order detail table, we want order quantity and unit price. And we have this filter as well. So this is our query with which we want to create our view. Let's now create our view and say high value order details as followed by our query. Let's go ahead and create this view now. Our view is successfully created. We can have a look at our data by querying the view as well. Now, similar to how we can alter and drop the table, we can also do the same with a view. In case you want to add or remove columns from the view definition, or in case make changes in any of the filter conditions, then we can always make use of alter view. Now suppose from this view I want to remove this filter condition on total due and I want to keep all the orders irrespective of the total due value. I can remove this condition and I can say alter view with the same view name. When we run it, the same view gets altered, and when I again requery this view, I will be able to see all the orders with the total due amount less than 1000 as well. We can see some records here which says 84,937. Also, when I say drop view and view name, the view which we have created would be deleted. This works very similar to how we drop a table. So we will have to just say drop view and view name. Until now, we understood that the use of a view is query reusability. That is, it helps in avoiding rewriting the same queries frequently, and it helps in simplifying complex queries. Another very important use of a view is that it helps in security and restricting data access. Suppose a table contains many columns, and for a particular user, you would like to give access only to a few columns. A table containing employee details can have his or her salary and bank account number. But everyone who looks at this employee data may not need to see the salary and bank account number details. So when we create a view which contains only relevant details like employee ID, name and department, this helps with the data security. So through this video, we learned a new concept called views, which acts as a virtual table, helps in simplification, reusability and also security. In our upcoming videos, we will understand about other database objects and how we can work with them. So stay tuned and subscribe to OMBI Anganwadi.